Their seats. Okay. Uh-oh, who's filming us?
Huh? Filming.
Who's coming in with the camera?
Oh, I have no idea. Oh, I knew it was.
Hi. Hi, can you just tell me who we're speaking to?
Hi, my name is Mark Cortez, and I'm a member of the Terrell Place Board.
Just came to sort of
Okay,
hang out and pick up me.
okay.
Hi, Mark. Just bear with us for a few minutes
Sure.
if we get started. No, this one is from over here. Can you maybe space out the ones that are working? Hi, how are you? Good. Please, you need those two seats, please? Absolutely. This one is reserved. Got a good plan? Where's he from? Where's he from? Yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly. Watch the garbage can behind you, and please watch this board, which is the deadly ball getting. Ready? Yes. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our town hall this evening on the Chinatown Gallery Place Task Force. We have our special guest with us this evening, Debbie Ratner Salzberg, thank you, who is fantastic, who is joining us tonight, who will lead our discussion. This is operated as a listening session for you to garner your feedback and input into the plan. Many of you had asked mechanisms for residents living downtown to be involved in this process. And this is one of several engagements that will be happening, and Debbie will be describing that more as we go along. We do have mics in front of you. I see some of them are, for whatever reason, this is the first time we've used them all, are not functioning correctly. So if your mic is not lit and you wish to speak, we'll bring a mic over to you so that you can use the mic. It is important that you do use the microphones tonight when asking a question. And the reason for that is that the folks that are joining us online tonight will be able to hear the question. Otherwise, they will not be able to do that. With that, I would like to turn it over to Ms. Salzberg.
Thank you very much. I am Debbie Ratner Salzberg. I am one of the co-chairs of the task force for Gallery Place in Chinatown. And I think we have more people coming. So there are seats in here if you would like to join us. Tonight, and with me is Alex Organisi, who is with Edens, who represents Edens, which my co-chair, Jody McLean, is the CEO of. So Jody couldn't be here tonight. We are trying to cover lots of different ground, and we will. So we are both here to listen. So when we said tonight was a listening session, it really is to listen to you, because on Saturday, we will have a visioning session where we will be coming up with 8 big ideas, talking about where we are going based on some design inputs and based on lots of meetings like this. So we really want your input, what's important to you, to make sure that it is reflected in what we produce. So I am standing up here because I don't want my back to be to anyone, but it's ultimately going to be to you in the back row, because in order for me to ask questions and respond to you, I need a microphone, which means this microphone has to go around the room. So my apologies in advance for anyone who ends up with my back. So what we're going to present is in draft, and it's really just about the task force. After that, we're going to get into a discussion. We're going to answer your questions. We're going to talk to you about what are the most important things to you as residents in this neighborhood. And again, I want to make sure all of you are aware that there is a meeting here on Saturday at 10 a.m. with a large group of people to present some ideas that have come out of all of these talking sessions and a visioning session that we had with with 4 different teams of architects. So with that, let me just briefly, because some of you are very familiar with this, I don't know that all of you are, talk to you about the task force, which was created by the mayor in December of 2023. The purpose at the time was that there had been an announcement that the teams were leaving, and we were instructed to come up with 2 different plans. 1, if the teams ultimately change their mind, and 2, what to do if the teams left. What we should all remember is that we based our work on a lot of work that was done before us, including the DC Action Plan, which we will talk about for a minute later. That was done before Monumental Sports announced it was leaving. And that plan talked a lot about this neighborhood and what could be done to enhance the vitality and to bring back the vibrancy in this neighborhood. So there were issues, as all of you know as residents, before the task force came into being and before the teams announced that they were leaving. So we have a bunch more people. How do you want to handle this? We're out of chairs. There, someone can take my chair. Did someone take mine? Just move my belongings over, Alex.
Here, I have 3 chairs in the middle here. Please feel free to come in. I have some chairs here in the middle. You are welcome to take my chair. I will just jump out of the way.
Now that's a good solution. All right, so
There's a chair over here too, if you'd like a chair here. I'll go get some chairs.
I promise not to start again too many. This will be the last time I start again, but for those who just walked in, I am Debbie Ratner Salzberg, co-chair of the task force. With that, I'm going to talk quickly about the task force, and we are here to listen to all of you and your ideas for your neighborhood. Okay, so when we were started by the mayor, it really was, as I mentioned, to come up with 2 different plans, one if the team stayed and one if the team left. These are the members of the task force. Jody and I co-chair it with Nina Albert, who is the deputy mayor for planning and economic development. We have 2 emeritus task force honorary co-chairs, former Mayor Tony Williams and former Mayor Adrian Fenty. And you can see all of the people representative of cultural groups, larger urban development projects, events DC, a rather broad group of people. The task force meets monthly. The mayor is present at every meeting, and they are more of a strategic force behind us, because the general work is carried out in 4 different verticals or committees. Next slide, I think, Alex. Thank you. So we have visioning, which is what we are presenting on Saturday, talking about what are our big ideas for the neighborhood. Activation, because part of what we believe we need to do is activate some of these empty storefronts and bring more vitality and life back down to the streets. Investments and incentives. So Jody and I come from the private sector, and we are used to actually coming up with plans that are implemented. They don't sit on a shelf. I mean, we think about projects and what can be done. So our goal is to make sure that at the same time we're talking about what our different big ideas are, that we are also working with the deputy mayor for economic development on how these plans can actually become reality so that they don't sit in a book on someone's shelf. And the last is marketing and communications. There are lots of good things happening in your neighborhood. We don't hear about them generally. We hear about, the problems. So we are here to make sure that the good news gets out as well. And with that, we are going to talk about the study area, because it's a little broader than you might imagine. It goes from the convention center all the way down to the mall. Now, why would we go down to the mall? Because we believe connectivity between the mall and bringing 20+ million, it may even be 35 million tourists up so that your restaurants during the day have more people, so that there's vibrancy on the street and what we call eyes on the street, as well as making sure that the convention center is connected. So we go from the convention center all the way down through the mall. And the Foundation for the National Mall has been involved and is working with us. On the east, we have the National Building Museum. So we go as far as the National Building Museum. And on the west, we go to 10th Street. So that's the area. It's a little hard to see in red. It will ultimately include the FBI site when it is turned over. So it is a broad neighborhood. And we didn't start from scratch. Some of you were involved in some of the plans, which were the DC Comeback Plan, the DC Action, the Downtown Public Realm Plan, and the DC Action Plan. And we started with working with all of these plans, reading them and building on them. So this was not let's start from scratch. There was a lot of work that was done before us, and that was the basis for our work. So we have been, we think, had some recent accomplishments that whether or not we should take credit for, we would like to. So we worked very hard to help get the Secure DC plan, the DC Act passed, as I'm sure many of you did as well. The arena agreement has been executed, or the MOU, and we are working with the mayor to make sure that there is money, and she has put money in the budget to begin the transformation of downtown and this neighborhood. So before I continue, I do want to say we have 4 verticals, which I think I skipped through, the safe and clean, which was the starting point, because that was one of the first things that we thought we could do in this neighborhood, which is all the rest of the things we want to do only work if you and others feel safe in this neighborhood. So the act, the Secure DC Act was critical, but the safety hub has opened up. I think there are more, my understanding is, there are more police now in the neighborhood, particularly during games when there are more people around. And we believe that that is critical to move forward. And it is critical to the perception of people in this neighborhood and people visiting the neighborhood. So we looked at things we could do immediately, things that we can do in the midterm, and things that are long-term planning. And on a regular basis, coming to the ANC is the BID and their security director, who reports monthly on what is going on with safety from the BID's perspective. But it's not just the BID's perspective. Bi-weekly, we have meetings, and I am part of those meetings with members of the executive team and the BID on making sure that things feel clean and feel safe, and whether it's cleaning graffiti, worrying about repairing streetlights, or an actual review of the issues in the neighborhood, it is being addressed and regularly discussed. So that's the intro. What we really want today is your thoughts on what you would like in your neighborhood, what issues you have in your neighborhood, and how we can help and make sure these thoughts are included in our presentation. And I will say, I can't promise you everything is going to be included, but I can promise you that we are listening, and this is very much the beginning. So we will continue to refine what is shown on Saturday, and we wanted to make sure that you had input today, and you will have future input on Saturday for those of you who can come back to the library Saturday morning. And this will be a continuing dialogue. Okay, with that, I think I'm going back. Well, I'm going to stay here and use one of these microphones. But I know that we had a question from someone. Did you want to start with your question, or? Great. Here.
Switch down on the button here. Yep, there you go. And you just talk right in there.
Okay. I'm Mitchell Beagle, a city center resident. I'm excited about the new plan and wish it all success, but I do note that this is at least the 3rd plan that it's been advanced over the last 10 years or so without success. With that in mind, I think the current plan still minimizes or ignores the 2 big elephants in the room. And again, public safety, To me, this is the bedrock that'll determine the success or failure. Without big improvements in public safety, the plan, if it implemented, will just be a big waste of money. The secure DC law cleared out Gallery Place for a few days, but it's a war zone again. So I don't understand how we're going to address the hardcore public safety issues long-term. And the second issue I had was government workers. How are you going to get Mayor Bowser to convince the president to order his employees back into the office ASAP, like corporate America has done for a while now? Again, this is a bedrock issue for populating downtown and growing residents and visitors on top of that, in my opinion. Thank you.
Okay, so let me start with the second. I'll work backwards. I believe that the mayor is trying to do the best she can to get the president to send workers back. And there have been, I know directives from Jeffrey Sands, and that's working. I mean, that he is working on that. I would tell you that if you ask me what creates a great neighborhood, it's vibrancy, it's activities, it's great restaurants. So a lot of what we are doing when we talk about bringing people up from the mall and we talk about bringing people down from the convention center, if we can bring all of those people, it won't be noticeable that federal workers aren't back. It will be an issue perhaps for an office owner, but in terms of who's on the street, how many people we can attract, how many people we can make comfortable in this neighborhood. You know, I think about, what is it, the holiday market, where we've been told 250,000 people come through this area. So if we can do what it is Jody has done at Union Market through Eden's, and I did at the Yards to make a vibrant neighborhood again, which you've had in the past, then I believe we will be able to address this, whether or not we get more federal workers back, which frankly, we are all hoping for. I think I went back to safe and clean because it is the bedrock, and you're right. And it is why I am spending an hour every other week at a minimum on a call with members of the various executive branches who have somebody, generally their chief of staff, on the call so that we have a to-do list. And as I said, it ranges from petty crime to graffiti, okay, to power cleaning. And there are eyes on the street now, and there is an action group that is meeting regularly and taking action to make these streets clean and safe. So we are working on it. Okay. Anybody else have? Yes. You know what? Could you please identify yourself as we go? I probably should have gone around the room and asked everyone to identify themselves, but it kept growing anyway. So as you ask questions, please.
As soon as providing requests, this is that period.
Yeah, you can. It's an open floor discussion. What you like, what you don't like, whatever comes to your mind. This is, your chance to talk to us and our chance to listen and think about whether our plan, how our plan can reflect or will reflect your thoughts.
So I'm Casey. I live in the Penn Quarter area. I saw recently that the Fresh Farm or Fresh Food, the entity that manages the farmers market down the street, they're closing off the Penn Quarter market, I suppose. One idea would be, is there a way to do some sort of partnership with them or some other entity that could bring back the farmers market as part of this revitalization, whether it's once a week or every other week?
So we were as surprised as you were when we read that, and our texts back and forth were like, here we are spending all this time trying to revitalize the neighborhood, and look what happens. So the answer is, it's something we definitely will be working on.
Sorry, because I arrived late. I'm sorry if I arrived late, and perhaps it is a topic that has already been discussed, but my name is Orinda Basha. I am a CPA and a new DC resident. It will be 1 year since I moved to DC. I've lived in the surrounding areas for the longest period of my life, since the early 2000s. And I moved to DC because I love the restaurant scene and the art scene and the curated grounds of the city center where I live. I absolutely love the complex. However, what I have learned by being a city resident is that when you live in the city, you do not love it the way that you do when you come here as a visitor. I get woken up many nights by someone who lacks mental facilities, and he sleeps right underneath our window in a bench. And he screams profanities any time of the night, 3 a.m., 2 a.m., 5 a.m. During the daytime, he sleeps, and probably he's on drugs because not a normal human being cannot sleep in the sun, a deep sleep during the daytime. We call the police because we are disturbed in our home. We pay taxes, we pay real estate taxes, income taxes, and we are disturbed in our peace and quiet in our home by these individuals who basically claim public property as their home. They store their belongings in trash bags, and that bench where they sleep becomes their storage place. I have to pay for my storage place. They have the storage place in the street for free. So this is a major concern. The smells in the city. I mean, probably you noticed while walking inside the MLK library. This is a beautiful piece of art, a glass building, and it becomes a dirt public bathroom for all of us who have to walk past here. As a female who uses public transport, who likes to use public transport, I am concerned about my safety walking here. I have to have him come and pick me up at the metro stop because I do not feel safe coming here late at night. So I believe that growing the area is fantastic, but there are some immediate issues that need to be prioritized for safety and for cleanliness, for peace, because being woken up by screaming individuals in the street is a huge concern of mine. And I believe that the city wants to draw people like me for the tax base, for what we bring to the city. And you will lose what you have if these issues are not addressed immediately.
Thank you. I mean, I hear you, and we have taken notes from everything that you've said, and it will come back up at our next safety meeting. But I just want you to know how hard we are trying to promote safety and cleanliness in this area. And as I said, it is, people need to feel safe. Public safety is a critical issue. So we are working on it. You need a mic. That would be great. Thank you. Thanks.
Put a 1 minute time limit.
Okay. Hi, my name is Susan Perlman. I live and I'm an owner at the residences at Gallery Place, which shares the same block as the arena. And I'm here just to speak up for, once again, beseeching the district to pass regulations or enforce the current regulations about amplified noise. And I'll just want to read, thank you. I just want to quickly read current DC law. Every person living in the district is entitled to reasonable noise levels that do not threaten life, health, and enjoyment of his or her property. Excessive or unnecessary noises within the district pose a menace to the welfare and prosperity of the residents and businesses of the district. It is the declared public policy of the district to reduce the ambient noise level in the district to promote public health, safety, welfare, and the peace and quiet of the inhabitants of the district, and to facilitate the enjoyment of the natural attraction of the district. So that's current law, but nobody will listen to us. Nobody will help us. And I just beg you, please address this issue. We almost lost our two teams moving over to Virginia, in part over this issue. It has been maddening, the government's refusal to act.
Okay, I absolutely hear you, and we are taking note of this. As you know, there is a new DC secure law. There are parts of it that we hope will be able to help us enforce this, and we will work on it.
May I interject something here?
So now, don't you have to raise your hand?
Yes, those online, if you could
sorry.
raise your hand and we will acknowledge. Sorry about that. I was not, we were getting chairs. I was not paying attention.
And my
So
apologies.
We'll come to you in just a second.
And my apologies, because when I started, I said I didn't want anyone's back. I didn't want, and you all, everyone online has my back. So my apologies.
I'll go over here to the wall.
Thank you. I acknowledge none of these issues are easy for anyone. And DC is not unique. I think nationwide we have similar issue. My question is, what is the timeline, right? And where's the funding? What are the detailed timetable? What are the prioritized item? By when we will address what? I think a detailed timeline with specific tactical action versus some of the transformational action which you highlighted about, which would take time. But combination of tactical and transformational action will be very helpful for the resident to restore the confidence of DC.
Thank you. We agree. We need a timeline. And I think it actually goes back to an earlier question, which is, as I said, we come from the private sector and we don't end up doing we don't do things just to do them. We do them so that projects happen. And we don't want this to end. We don't want this to end up on somebody's table, desk, or library shelf. So we are having a meeting on Saturday to start talking about the big ideas. Once we get more feedback on Saturday, we will be coming back with a timetable and the next steps. So our goal is to have something that goes to something that just preliminary ideas at the ICSC in May, that we have stronger ideas and an action plan in September. So, you know, we have those goals and we will have a next steps plan for you, because implementation is critical. Otherwise, all of this is a waste of time. Okay.
Bill, are you still online with us? Back a second. Bill, are you still online with us?
Yes, I am.
Oh, could you ask your question for us?
No, I just wanted to comment about the noise in Gallery Place area. It's been discussed for years, but I think there's specific regulations where there's really no control of noise prior to 10 p.m. I mean, the hucksters that play have been, if they're still doing it, been a nuisance for years. But the law that she quoted is general, but I think there's some specifics that sort of thwart the effort to try to control noise. That's all I can say about it.
Thank you.
We live at Market Square and been in the district for many, many years. Frankly, distraught like everybody else about what happens around Gallery Place and the arena in Chinatown. And I was skeptical of these plans of the mayor to fix up the area until Debbie told me that Deborah Ratner Salzberg was going to be involved. Because nobody, I'll say nobody not in this room, but nobody in the world has done more in developing challenged properties in Washington, D.C. than you. Anybody ever go to the yards before it was the yards? Yeah, you didn't go down there, right? I mean, these are things that she's done. And she also isn't just a developer who needs other people's money. She's got some financial backing of her own besides, which makes a difference. And I would say this, that there's nobody who's more capable of doing it, but no more wants to do it in this room than you, Deborah. And so now I'm enthusiastic. It's a challenge. You got a huge challenge, but I'm enthusiastic. Once Debbie said you were the one doing it because you've got the track record and not only here, but around the country. And so thank you very much. Anything you want, I'm supporting 100% because you know better than anybody else in this room what we need. Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you very much, Peter. I did not pay him to come, but I am very grateful. And you should know that Jody McLean, who is my co-chair, I mean, if any of you have watched Union Market and what's going on, she also has a national presence and is compassionate and equally devoted to creating great communities. So we are working very hard. And I think the other critical thing is that we have the mayor's ear. We meet with the mayor. We have either we meet in person or we have weekly calls with the mayor at a minimum. We have a call set up every Wednesday. And we meet regularly, a call set up every Friday with Nina Alpert, the Deputy Mayor for Economic Development. And honestly, there are days when I wish those were our only 2 calls during the week, because this is my 3rd meeting today for the task force. And we meet regularly because all of us are really committed to making sure that the changes you need and you want in this neighborhood occur. So with that, more questions.
So we'll go right over here. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Sure. I'd just like to add, my name is Elaine. I live in City Center also. I'd like to add to my neighbor's complaint noise, if you can bear more comments about it. 2 examples. One is I live at 9th and H right at the corner, and my bedroom is very close to Cuba Libre. You probably know that from 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. Friday and Saturday nights, it turns into a disco. The noise is bad enough while the disco is going. It's much worse when they let out all these drunk people come out at 3 a.m. and they just make massive noise. And I think that's really wrong for a building that faces a residential building. And I was wondering if you could stop that and also prevent any future establishments that come up in the area from making that kind of noise. Secondly, and I bet my neighbor Arinda, who just spoke about what's going on in the benches outside our condo, also starting around 10 p.m. most nights, and it goes on for a long time, there are these incredibly loud, revved up motorcycles and cars that sweep up and down H Street and maybe 9th Street too. It's impossible to sleep when you hear this. Even my dog gets up and barks every night when she hears this. So these are 2 kinds of noises that you may not have thought of previously that could drive residents crazy.
Thank you for that. We will take note of it. I think we were going across the
We're
way.
going to go right over here.
Thanks. Hi, my name is Elena. I live in Gallery Place. I have one sort of general request and one more specific. The general one is that it kind of seems like in all these conversations about revitalizing downtown DC and this neighborhood specifically, the residences get lost. I've seen, there's plans for designated bus lanes or streeteries, and those are all great, but then sometimes the plans mean that they're going to block entrances to our buildings and cars can't pull over then. And that's how people get their ride shares or their deliveries. And so that's just things that, everyone's so focused on bringing businesses back, which obviously we need, but they kind of forget that people live above the businesses. And then this specific thing is that one of the reasons why, at least my building in particular, gets a lot of deliveries is that there's no grocery store nearby. So that would be nice.
Got it. Thank you. A grocery store is definitely on our list.
Hi, my name is Nashra Ahmed. I don't live in this neighborhood, but I am a DC resident. I'm an attorney with the Asian Pacific American Legal Resource Center, and I work with a lot of the tenants associations in this area and a lot of the low-income residents of Chinatown. So I really wanted to voice the importance of preserving low-income housing in Chinatown and really trying to preserve the community that lives there. In the last 30 to 50 years, we've lost, I forget the exact percentage, but we've gone down from 3,000 Chinese residents to less than 300, which is huge. We're the fastest declining Chinatown in the country. So just to echo what Elaine back there was saying about how important it is to preserve the people who live here, it's also important to keep in mind that there's a very large community of low-income people that really deserves to be preserved as well.
Thank you. I don't know I mean, as Peter mentioned earlier, I was part of a national development company and doing this for years. We actually were the developers of the Wildluck House, which was senior housing. So, yeah, so I am very familiar with.
Oh, Thomas was just saying that there is a meeting tomorrow night related to the preservation of Chinatown. If individuals are interested, I don't know if it's still open for people to attend that meeting or not. Got it. Perfect. I'd like to call Kenny.
Can I just
Lee
add one thing
online.
about
Oh, sure.
Chinatown? We are looking to narrow all these conversations down to like 8 big ideas. One idea that will definitely be there and has been there is Chinatown, because what we've learned through all of our meetings is we need to preserve what's there. And we also need that we have residents who want to stay and need to be, able to stay. But we also have people who have been there for 4 generations who want this to be a great Chinatown, like London and other international places. So Chinatown is definitely going to be one of the focuses. Sorry.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, so my name is Penny Lee, and I'm connected to Chinatown as being part of the Chinese Consolidated Benevolent Association. So in speaking of Chinatown, when I Google up the word loitering, the loitering laws, it says loitering is the act of being in a public place with no specific purpose. Many times in Chinatown, for our businesses down there, you find people sitting on the front steps of our businesses, which really is annoying and prevents customers from entering the businesses. So I'm not quite sure how DC laws are addressing that, because when the businesses call the police, they cannot do anything about the people sitting there. I'm just curious, do you know about that law, or whether there is a loitering law or an anti-loitering law or not in DC? Because it's very difficult to, help our businesses, because many times this happens over and over again. And, a lot of times they feel helpless that they can't get rid of the people sitting out there.
So I will tell you that I am not an expert on the loitering laws, to be perfectly frank. But what I will also add is that the downtown bid has received a grant to have more people on the street to help with security and really to talk to people and have them move and understand that these are not places that they can sit at a regular basis, and to talk and to tell them where services are being provided. So I can't remember, I don't know, Alex, if you remember the name of this new group, but there is additional funding and new people on the street. And I know that on 6th and around 6th and I, behind one of the law firms, there's a group called Red Caps, and they also work with people in the city, talking to them about relocating, helping them with what their needs are. So we are taking notes about all of this, and we'll try to direct more attention in those locations.
So I'm Ralph Turkowitz. I'm president of the residents of Terrell Place, which is on 7th and A. And I applaud everything you've done in terms of bringing back vibrancy and vitality. I think it's made a difference. What I'd like to see you do is enforce the other laws. So it doesn't matter whether you're talking about loitering, sound, or frankly, bicycles and scooters on the sidewalks. We have bicycle lanes in the road. They're all over. If we have police that are enforcing the laws that are in place in the area, these problems will be solved.
Okay.
So it's not a matter of law. It's a matter of having police available that's looking in the area and enforcing the sound laws, the loitering laws, the bicycles and the sidewalks. We'll have more people killed as a result of walking down the street and being hit by a bicycle.
Thank you. I mean, we definitely are taking note of all of this, and we'll report back to the places that we I would also say that your council member, Brooke Pinto, meets with us regularly. She is on the task force, and we have regular conversations with her about public safety. So this will all be brought back to her attention.
Well, good afternoon to everybody. I'm Santiago. I live in Chinatown. Well, thanks for the opportunity for all the neighbors to expose their concerns about what's happening in this area. I've been a resident for the last 5 years. And I remember a few years back, Chairman Mendelsohn was at our building explaining a little bit of what they want to do in regards to many of the different issues that we have in this area. I think one that could probably be addressed by you advocating for the neighbors here might be the legislation in this area, because I think mainly it is legally known as a commercial area, right? But at the same time is a very unique space since there are a lot of residential buildings here. So maybe that could be a way to start all these issues to legally have a different presence in the way they want to enforce different issues, right? I find also, and as a second point, besides changing or trying to make this area in a mixed neighborhood, not only commercial, but also residential. The second thing would be that the noise issue, I don't recall the names exactly of these offices, but the office that regulates the noise only works until 4 p.m., I think. So yeah, and this is a fact. I don't remember the name of this office, but they work until 4 p.m. And unfortunately, most of the noise occurs later on in, I would say, night and early in the morning, very early in the morning. And it would be nice to have maybe the task force address this, to have people enforce these things in other times of the day that are actually going to be more fruitful for the neighbors to show these problems. And again, thank you so much for the opportunity, and thank you.
Okay, another comment, and then I actually have we have two more comments, and I have a question for all of you.
Excuse me, Howard Marks. I'm the Vice President of the Condo Board at the Residence at Gallery Place. We're here tonight with our president is here and a member of our board. As you know, we have 192 units. We have 300 people that live in our building, a very successful mixed-use development. But we are also beset with the same problems that our neighbors share tonight. And actually, two of our residents have already spoken, so I'm really excited about that. Just three quick things that might be done without waiting, and that's the lighting situation. Especially in Chinatown, they decided whoever put in these very weak lights, they're very, I don't know, like supposed to be like China, but you could hardly see your hand. And that could be done immediately to improve the lighting, especially if you're getting people up the 7th Street corridor, up from the National Mall up here, especially at night. It's scary. It's really scary. So that's one thing that the city could do immediately. Change light bulbs, right? And Randy Brown has already done that. Randy Clark, I'm sorry, from Metro has already announced that every station in Metro, they're going to improve the lighting. Secondly, the gentleman over here mentioned about e-scooters and e-bikes. I actually started an organization a number of years ago called Take Back Our Sidewalks. I wasn't successful here, but I'm happy to report that Paris has now banned e-scooters and e-bikes. And the borough of Manhattan in New York City has also banned e-scooters and e-bikes. They're very dangerous. This is something that DDOT could shut them down immediately if they wanted to. And putting people at risk continually of being hit and maimed is just outrageous. The third thing, and I'm glad you mentioned you're being aggressive about graffiti. I just returned from Europe, from Sofia, Bulgaria, and the graffiti artists have officially taken over this historic city. It's just incredible what they've done to besmirch this beautiful historic Balkan city. And I'm hoping that we could do this. We could cut these people off by aggressively taking down this graffiti now. And I'm so happy that you mentioned that earlier. Thank you.
So lighting is also on our list. So graffiti, lighting, I mean, we have 20 items that are regularly on the list that we review, and I will make sure that we address the Chinatown lighting going forward. I can't promise you I can get all of this done, but I can promise you we will address the issues. And I mean, I definitely hear public safety, noise. We are taking notes of all of this and we'll distribute it accordingly.
So hi, I'm Gavin Roy. And I live at the residence at Gallery Place as well. And I wanted to bring up a couple concerns. The first is that we've read that Monumental is considering enclosing the G Street alleyway. And this is an ingress point for our building. And residents have raised concern about that enclosure blocking our access to the building. The second is in enclosing that part of the thing, we're concerned that it could obstruct views for people who are on the third floor and higher in our building if they're going to build enclosures there that all of a sudden somebody's looking at the side of a roof or something like that. We also share the security concerns. My wife does not go out alone after, say, 9 o'clock, just out of concern for her own security on the streets. And so anything that can be done to help make us feel more comfortable in the environment, I think would be good. And finally, I also read that there was consideration of closing off 7th Street and making it pedestrian only. And I think that would very negatively impact our building. Like my neighbor said, we get deliveries regularly. Our only ingress points to our building are 7th Street, whether it's by the G Street alley or 7th Street right next to the metro entrance. So that's all.
Okay, so we don't know. I mean, I was on a call at 4 p.m. with Monumental Sports and Entertainment today, talking to them about what we can present on Saturday, because they are very far behind us, frankly. I mean, we started in December and they started at the end of March with the announcement when they made their final decision. So they are a work in progress. We meet with them, we talk to them. I don't, whatever you're hearing, they don't even have their plans yet. Okay, so I think we'll see some what they call precedent images of things they might like to do, but it's just, that is not yet a reality. So I'm not saying what they will or won't do. I'm just telling you, after a call this afternoon at 4 p.m., I don't know that they are anywhere near making decisions like that. So that's number one. And now I've probably lost your second thought. So your second thought was safety, which we understand is of critical importance. But I do think, Monumental Sports is open, wants an active street, wants to bring people up from the mall, and they want to be a more active place. In terms of 7th Street, I don't, we have lots of different ideas that have greenery, or maybe we can close part of it on certain times for festivals. But everybody is aware of where garages are located, loading the docks and all of these things. And they will all, it'll all be taken into consideration before anybody thinks about closing any streets or doing anything like that. I think what people want is, or what people have been talking about, is more festival streets on it, not a daily closure. I do know there's some interest in terms of what happens on game days, but I think people are thinking about security, and there are no definite decisions that have been made. And as I said, we're in the idea stage. All this also has to go through DDOT and many other organizations to make sure that this can act, whatever comes out. So I would encourage you to come on Saturday if you can. Not that everybody wants to spend their Saturday mornings with us, but that's another method of feedback and interaction.
Right. I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up one more issue, which you reminded me of. During events, the police are currently closing off 7th Street between H and whatever, and 6th Street as well. And many of my neighbors, I guess myself included, can't come back to park in the parking garage underneath our building when that happens. The police do not let us in, even if we show our ID and say, hey, we live here. We just want to go those few feet and park. Is there anything that can be done around that?
It is duly noted and we will bring it up. I mean, that's, you know, as I said, we have to go through all of this with DDOT and other organizations. So it will be noted and discussed.
I just wanted to just make a comment. I know that we are beginning to run short on time, and that if a statement has already been made to Debbie in recording, please we can note that there's another person for that, but please try to refrain from repeating things that have been said previously. One of the things that I am surprised that I have not heard yet, that I hear a lot from residents besides the grocery store issue that was mentioned back here, is a playground. We are the only neighborhood in the city that I am aware of that does not have a playground for children. And we have lots of families that live down here. And secondly, there is no dog park anywhere to be found within walking distance to allow your pooch to run, are two things that repeatedly come up from residents besides all the other things that we're hearing here today. I just want to
That's
make a
great.
note of
Thank
that.
you. Those are things that can easily be part of a very active neighborhood. Okay.
So I have one over here and we'll go right back over here. Okay.
And then I would like to ask a question before it's over. So you two go and then we'll.
This is just real quick, but when you mentioned festivals, on my earlier point, we've been besieged by amplified noise, so it's an additional slap in the face when the district puts on festivals and they have amplified noise projected at our building. So please, because we're taxpayers, we're paying taxpayer dollars to have amplified noise projected at us, driving us out of our homes. Please don't do that. Thank you so much.
Got it. There's someone else. Okay.
Hi, my name's Diane Murdoch. I live at Mather Studios that I'm looking at across the street. I love my building. It's a historic building. And I love that I'm across the street from the MLK Junior Memorial Library. It's a lovely location. I'm wanting to speak to homelessness and the homeless. And I have attended the courses here offered by the library that addresses 101 homeless and looking out for their safety and their concerns. This is what public libraries are also welcoming them, and they should. So I believe in that, but I also feel that, I don't know what the answer is. I just thought I'd throw that out there. We have talked in our community about why can't they have public restrooms somewhere? So I just wanted to say that that's something also that it's not just for homeless that are looking for that. So anyway, it's my thoughts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think there was one more right here. I'm going to get there. I promise. Okay, I'm going to give you my question so you can think about it. All right. And we're going to listen to the rest of these comments first. But I remember being here in 2018. Okay. That was only now 5.5 years ago, 6 years ago. And I walked over from 6th and I with a friend because we were at a meeting there and it was the championship day. We sat outside and looked at the screens and went out to dinner and we're down here and there were thousands of people and it was a very active neighborhood. And to me, that just wasn't that long ago. So I believe we can bring that back, but I don't know if that's a vision that the rest of you share. So after we listen to the rest of these comments, I would love to do a quick round with some of you raising your hands and telling me what positive things would you like us to be thinking about? Really, what things, a grocery store, a playground, a dog park, what are the things that we should be thinking about that you want in your neighborhood? And our celebratory times and feeling safe, like I felt here, very comfortable. I was with another female friend, never thought twice about walking over from 6th and I. So that's part of my vision. And the last thing I would tell you is residents are critical. And part of our thinking is we need more of them down here. This neighborhood doesn't have enough. So we're also going to encourage conversions, more residents. So you are critical and your input's critical. So with that, your 3 comments, and then just raise your hands if you have anything you want to say. Does
So
that
was there
work?
someone that had their hand over here?
Hi, I'm James Stroud. I live in Penn Quarter, actually in Thomas's building. And I also want to echo grocery store, farmer's market, very important. I'm young and able-bodied, and the closest grocery store is 15 minutes away. And that's not a problem for me, but like if I were older, had disability, that would be just terrible. And I also agreed that while bikes and scooters on the sidewalks is very dangerous, it's also dangerous for bikers on the road with the lack of bike infrastructure. The protected lane on 9th Street is amazing and awesome. I love that. But there's plenty of these very narrow painted lanes that are bike lanes, but not as safety or not as inspiring. So I think expanding bike infrastructure would be great. And also traffic calming measures. I think like Hoboken, New Jersey is like a great model for reducing pedestrian deaths, and there could be lessons learned from there. Also agree on parks as a tenant, like at basketball courts. I don't know, just recreational sort of spaces. I think would be great. And also in regards with homelessness, I think just having more compassion, I think, towards that subject, and like more looking at like expanding social services and that sort of thing. And I think improving accessible housing, affordable housing, while both would draw more people here, would also help alleviate in the long term homeless problems that, I mean, that the homeless themselves are dealing with, and the externalities that people here are not too happy with. So I think it would help in many different ways. And yeah, I think that's about it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. We have 2 on the.
Yes, we have 2 online. I believe Andrew, I believe it's Cohen. I'm sorry.
Hi there. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for organizing this. Really appreciate it. Just as you are working with Monumental, now that they've decided to stay, one thing that we'd love to have you help us advocate for, and I live in Residences Gallery Place, facing the G Street alley, is light pollution. They've just installed brand new, very bright signs. They shut off exactly at midnight, but they're incredibly bright. So if they're going to be doing any kind of new building of that, and something, there's no reason that the lights need to be able to point up into residents' windows. So as they're planning, if you can help us advocate for taking care of those, that would be extremely helpful. Thank you.
Got it. Thank you.
Thanks so much. And it's Dorothy. I think it's not all the way on there. Dorothy?
Oh, it's McAleer.
McAleer. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to participate. I am a owner at the Residences at Market Square, 7th and D. And just 2 quick questions or comments. One is on the safety issue. If it's not already on the list, could we add the loose bricks in the sidewalks?
It's on the list. It's on the list.
Okay, great. I figured it was, but I said, let me just ask. And then the other is more of a current situation with respect to the marijuana dispensaries that are located within 300 feet of the school. One is directly across from our residence, and just a general comment to sort of balance between the economic development ties to the marijuana dispensaries, particularly given that we are going to continue to allow them within 300 feet since the bill didn't pass through the council, meaning 300 feet of the school, that exemption is not going to be repealed because we're a commercial district.
Sorry, what, Deborah, what'd you say?
So the comment or the question is to discuss or add a balance between the economic development associated with the marijuana dispensaries and the overall plan, because there's quite a few that are setting up. This isn't a pro or anti marijuana, but it's just to balance that vibrancy with the overall plan.
Right. So Deborah, what was your question specifically? Well, we are waiting for ABCA to give us their final ruling. Is that correct, Michael? They have 75 days to give us a ruling. Michael and I participated in a 6-hour hearing. We made our point. I'm not optimistic, but we made our point, and we hope that ABCA will see it that it is inappropriate for a dispensary to set up a shop right across the street from a school.
I appreciate the advocacy, and if I'm not mistaken, though, there was a bill that went to the city council to repeal that exemption because we're in a commercial location. The dispensaries are not subject to the 300-foot rule, and it didn't pass. So what I'm just getting at is that we balance the marijuana business with the overall business that we're trying to produce.
Yes, this is an example of the balancing of the economic. If you would like to stay afterwards, I'm happy to talk about the dispensary issue with folks. I'm happy to do that, but I wanted to give this time to you.
Thank you.
And thank you, everybody, for that advocacy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I threw out a question. I'd like to end on an upbeat note. As I said, I have a great vision of what this neighborhood was. We want to create it again. We don't want to overwhelm you with noise, so we want to be careful about it. We want to make sure it's safe. So and you haven't seen our visions or our different ideas, but you will. So does the vision resonate? And what else would you like to see? What would make your neighborhood great?
I moved in 2021, so I don't know what it was like before COVID or in 2018 when you were here, but I moved in. It was kind of, a hard time because of COVID. There was a lot of vacancies. There was a lot of, kind of lawlessness and not a lot of businesses thriving, not a lot of people downtown. And I've seen it come back a little bit since I've lived here, but ever since I moved in, I thought this is such a great spot. There's so many, his monuments, there's so many buildings that are vacant. I actively avoid 6 and I where you were because of the vacancy and because of just the, harassment I've experienced. But I still think that this place is so special because of so many of the cultural elements and the conveniences around. And we could use a grocery store where there's so many great elements to it. And I think that bringing more residential places, getting rid of a lot of the vacancies, there's vacancies not just in buildings, but on the floors of buildings. I think that, really focusing on that and bringing people to this part of town could be so special. Everyone that I know that when I say I live here, they kind of give me a quizzical brow because of the reputation, but they also say, wow, you are in the center of everything. And I'm like, yeah, it's awesome. And I really hope it continues to thrive.
Thank you. And a sneak peek for Saturday is we do believe this is the heart of the district. So, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, no, I'm Steve Murdoch. I'm a president of the association at Mathis Studios here across the street. I've heard everything and I agree with a lot what's going on, but okay, I agree with everything that pretty much everybody's saying from what's going on. But for me, one of the issues we found is being in a commercial area versus a residential or a mixed use. What's the chances of getting our neighborhoods changed to residential?
So, yeah,
because that would alleviate a lot of issues we have with ABCA and several other things in town here if we were more in the residential area.
I think that will end up happening through conversion and other things just because of the market changes, but thank you.
Regarding fun things, before COVID, the museums, including the galleries, would have parties on weekends, basically being open past the usual 6 or 7 that they're usually open. So it would be fantastic if all the museums have a night when they are fully open, just like the National Gallery of the Arts does the gallery nights once a week. It would be fantastic if that would be on a rotation for the museums, so that we get a chance to experience them at night with beautiful lighting and not have to wait on a passage to go in.
Great, thank you. It's on the activation list.
Something on the positive, this is Thomas Lee, I'm the commissioner, 2CO3. I've often am amazed by how much the stuff that goes on that even I don't know about. There's so much stuff that happens. Last week there was an Indy 500 demo. The previous week there was the Emancipation Day Parade, which I knew about, thank goodness. And there was the blessing of the fleet at the Navy Memorial, and then there was the Cherry Blossom Parade. But there's so much happening, and that's why I love living down here in this neighborhood, and that's why even my kids sometimes ask why we don't live in the suburbs like everyone else. I educate them and tell them you have so much around you that is so enriching that you guys should be lucky. One thing that would be really helpful would be if we could have like a citywide website that people can find out what's happening, because again I don't know like half of what's happening.
So what we found out was when we had our first activation meeting and brought together all the museums and the building museum, I mean, just all of the active users, including the bid, was that this group hadn't really all been together. The library, I mean, they hadn't all sat in a room and thought about what each other was doing. So that's exactly what the activation group will be working on, a website that actually, and social media that gets out, not just from the bid, but that people actually see and look at and know what's going on in the neighborhood. There is also bedowntown.org. I hope that's, so you can look at that if we don't get to your comments tonight and make comments on that as well. And we do, I mean, they are brought to us regularly. So there is a way that you can tell others who aren't here to interact with what they're seeing or what they want in the neighborhood. Do we have a few more minutes?
Yeah, I've got my mic. Can you guys hear me? Yeah. So my name is Madeline and I live in the Lafayette, same building as Thomas. And having lived in New York before and seeing it after the 9/11, what happened to downtown, I think, and I used to come to DC to shop, like retail, right? And so we slowly seeing some of the stores like closing, like Zara. Yeah. And I know we have City Center, which is great. We have but those are high-end stores. Not every regular person can shop there, right? And so I think we need to bring back retail because that's exactly what, try not to compare, but comparing, yes. Downtown New York, Manhattan, they started bringing big Zara stores, H&M, Italy. I mean, all the other stores, and people start coming back downtown. And I know they had the Oculus. It's retail, it's shopping. It really draws people to the place.
Great, thank you.
Yes, and I agree. And one thing I'd love to see in downtown is a thrift shop, AKA a charity shop. Like we don't have anything like that in the area, like for several miles around, actually.
Okay, we do have a pop-up program from the mayor's office that's also coming into effect so that we can put people into some of these vacant first floor buildings.
Yeah, just signage on the mall pointing people to the museums off the mall. When tourists come from out of town, they have no idea of what occurs off the mall. Like up here, for example, National Building Museum, I saw this couple with a young child. They were, I think, from United Kingdom, looking for things to do. And there was no signage, nothing letting them know about the great programs that occur for young children at the National Building Museum. Thank you.
Great, wayfinding is critical.
Hi, my name is Sam Bala. I'm a resident here in Chinatown. I just want to echo, many of the things that we heard. Nothing good will happen without adequate security. I myself have had to call 911 twice in the past 3 weeks, And when I actually speak to Metro police officers, they express similar frustration that even perpetrators of violent crime are being let out by the time their shift is over. So to those of you on the board who are accountable for the security of individuals, please change the laws, enforce the laws, because if people continue to act without impunity, we will keep having this problem over and over again. There will be no commerce, residents will leave. The number one complaint I hear from people coming out from Virginia and Maryland is that they are afraid of car crimes, violent crimes, and we are not seeing anything done about it adequately, and police officers themselves are expressing that frustration. So Mayor Bowser, the board, please, this is a universal complaint.
My name is Elfrida and I live in the Lafayette. During the summer, the Navy Band has activities at the Navy Memorial, and it's noise, but it's only for an hour. And so if other groups could come and play there with the fountains going, that's a nice thing too.
Thank you. That is a great idea.
Thank you. My name is Ashok Agrawal. I don't live in, or we don't live in Chinatown, but in close proximity of Chinatown. So we always mention that we live right next to Chinatown. I'm glad Monumental, Wizards, and Capital are staying in the, in the arena. But when the news first broke about them leaving, I wrote to wherever I could find that the entire complex of Gallery Place and Arena, all of that could be converted into a higher education center. A consortium of 4 or 5 major national or international universities could come, and that would also bring young people in this area. So I thought of, and then a couple of days back, I saw an article in the newspaper about mayor is trying to attract more higher education institutions in the city, which is very positive. And I think that's something maybe needs to be expanded and discussed more, is how do you bring young people to this area?
So I will tell you that that is one of the things that we were looking at. And it is in the remember I said we started with the DC action plan. It is in the DC action plan, not specifically for this neighborhood, but for, I think it's Penn West around GW. So it's absolutely an idea that the city is looking at and focusing on. In terms of tax revenues, when we thought the teams were leaving, we actually did some economic analysis. And frankly, the team staying in terms of city finances is really the best use at this point in time for that area. There will be other areas, the FBI building and other parts that we can add to and try new ideas. But the city is, you should know that the city is focused on that as well. Okay.
You actually just started to touch on questions I was going to pose. Actually, I want to say it's positive, right? All these great initiatives and idea will request funding. So mayor is upstairs in this building. She's supportive. Could we build all of these initiatives in the 2025 budget and the multi-year forecast from the fiscal perspective? Secondly, government funding, just one source of funding, right? What is our thinking on private-public partnership, which would really help revitalize the area? Of course, it's granted we're going to address the security issue. I'm just thinking a little bit beyond and positive. On the positive note, if you could touch on that, that would be great.
Thank you. So we did talk about the fact that we will need entitlements and investments. They need to obviously generate income and continue. And philanthropy actually is also a key note that the deputy mayor has been talking about, because it is a public-private partnership, and philanthropy are the way we can get many things done in the city. The Yards was developed through a public-private, I like to say private-public partnership, but I think we were a poster child for that. And there are many ways that we can do this in the city. It won't be easy. But I also want to remind people that when the teams were leaving, it was going to be at least 3 years before they left. Okay. So we are making changes, starting, we hope, with public safety and really working on all of this. And we will do activations and make as many changes as we can quickly. But some of these are short-term, midterm, and longer-term changes that will be made. But I think if we can begin to bring people down from the mall, we can create a more vibrant neighborhood to bring office workers who want to be here back, then we are on the road to success. I don't know, did we copy? Looks like there's somebody behind you. Okay.
Deborah, thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
So grateful that you're here doing this.
Well, it's my pleasure, but thank you for your words. So
I think we have
three more.
folks.
Okay.
That have questions, I believe.
Okay. All right. We're going to end it at 3 because I've already kept these
Yes.
guys longer than I promised. So, all right.
So one.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Cassie and I represent the Save Chinatown Solidarity Network. Before I say anything, I just want to uplift. I think there is a notable lack of community members that will really be severely impacted by all the decisions that are being made in this room today. Residents, longtime business owners in Chinatown. I mean, there's no translation services being provided here. Many of them, English isn't their first language. I think we should kind of, before we make any decisions, and like as we're sitting in this room today, acknowledge that this decision, these conversations are being made in a way that is very inaccessible and will impact a lot of the people that aren't sitting in this room right now. And in that spirit, I think Thomas Lee so generously uplifted, we will be hosting a town hall tomorrow that directly centers the voices and the needs of residents and longtime business owners and what they're asking for in these conversations, much of which is affordable housing, protecting rents, protecting their livelihoods, and what safety and community actually means for them. And so we urge everyone here, especially decision makers on where money is being spent and where investments are getting made, to show up tomorrow and to listen to the concerns of the residents. And so I'm just, an open question to those in the room, if you can make a commitment to show up tomorrow. Thomas Lee will be speaking, so if you want to hear from him and his brilliant opinions. Oh, okay, Michael will be speaking. If you want to hear from Michael and his brilliant comments. I think there's like a real need for decision makers to be thinking about the actual people that are going to be impacted by these decisions. Yeah.
Thank you. My apologies because I did not have that on my calendar, so I will not be able to make it tomorrow. Will it be recorded?
Yeah, it'll be live streamed on YouTube too. Everyone can watch it. Yeah.
So we can all watch it. And I promise you that I will do that, if not tomorrow night, the next day. And I think, Alex, we need to talk to the city and make sure that there is an interpreter for the Chinese community on Saturday. So we're going to add that to the list.
Perfect.
So apologies for today, but thank you for bringing that up.
I just wanted to say, you were asking about positive things. I saw recently that they're working on some murals. My name is Sarah Parnas and I live in the Clara Barton. I've been here since about 2019. And I've been in DC since about 2008. And I just love that they're making the space in our neighborhood that is normally these blank kind of walls into a place for art. I love about Chinatown that it is so vibrant and that it has different people from different backgrounds. I come from a really rural place, and so it's wonderful to be able to be among people and be able to see art prioritized and given space in the city.
Thank you. This is a cultural hub. I mean, we were very excited about the murals.
Yes, my name's Frank. I live in Market Square. And I just want to echo what Thomas said and what you said about this being a special neighborhood. We chose to live here, not Cleveland Park, not Arlington, because of the festivals, because of the museums, because of the events. And sometimes it may interfere with our ability to, we'd like it to be quiet or we'd like to get in and out. But this is unique in this country, in this world. And we're so blessed to live here and hope you keep that in mind as you develop your plans.
Thank you. So I will let you end, but that was a great way to end. And I want to tell you, when I asked how many people would be here tonight, I heard maybe 15 and then a few people online. So I am delighted. And on behalf of Jody and myself, I want to thank you all for coming out. Please, Michael and Thomas know how to reach me, but also, as I said, what was it? Now I can't even remember. bedowntown.org. Actually, we do look. And the city, because the city is responsible for it, tabulates and pulls in everything that comes in off of that site. And you do have a great council member who is really doing her best to represent all of you and was responsible for the citywide Secure DC bill. So I am very, very grateful. I hope to see some of you on Saturday when we launch some of these ideas so we get your comments. To your two ANC members, I can't thank you enough for putting this together. I mean, I don't know if you know what goes on, but I was watching them put out chairs, put the microphones out. I mean, there's a lot that happens each time. So thank you both very much.
I just want to take this opportunity just to thank Debbie for coming here tonight and being able to take your ideas back to the Chinatown Gallery Place Task Force. You mentioned in your question what you wanted, what we envisioned this place to be in the future. And I envision this place to be back to the vibrancy that we were. That we have people coming here to this neighborhood to eat in our restaurants, to come to our cultural events here, so that Chinatown is Chinatown and has Chinese businesses, that we have a gallery place having galleries and art galleries in it. Again, that's the vision that I have for this neighborhood. And it takes all of us to get there. And I want to say that, you know, government is slow. It is like turning the Titanic ship. Well, now Titanic, that's a small vessel, but turning the boat really quickly is very hard. But the Gallery Place Chinatown Task Force started in December, and now we're just in April, in 4 months. And we're going to see on Saturday the first visioning boards of what they're envisioning. That's incredible progress in such a short amount of time. So I just want to applaud the committee for that work as well. Thank you all so much. Thomas and I are committed, along with our other Commissioner Strauss, Becky Strauss, to hold more town hall meetings with you so that we can get your feedback and input into how we can better serve you as commissioners. Our roles are really to make sure that your voices are heard in government agencies. And as much as we stomp and snort sometimes, that's a really hard challenge. But we welcome your suggestions anytime. Our ANC meetings are in one of these meetings on the second Tuesday of each month. We're also online. We're one of the only ANCs that are doing a hybrid approach in the city. So we really encourage you to stay invested in this process, stay invested in revitalizing our community. And it takes really all of us to do that. So thank you so much for tonight. Give yourselves a hand for coming out. And Thomas and I will stick around. We're happy to answer any questions that you have. There's a couple questions that were asked. I know about loitering laws, around the marijuana dispensary, other things like that. We're happy to give you our view on that and where we currently are with those tasks. There is a restroom coming downtown, a pilot restroom that is coming to the corner of E and Indiana and 7th, sorry, Indiana and 7th. It's a pilot for 4 months to see how that will be. It's a really innovative kind of concept that is rolling out. So that should be happening in the next month or two, just to let folks know. I think that's all I have at the moment. The event on Saturday is at 10 a.m.
Not in this room.
No.
It's coming to the library. I think it's the auditorium. I'm not sure of the exact space. We haven't done our walk,
Yes,
but it's here.
it's here in the room. Thank you all so much. Please be careful when you exit because of all the chair legs, all the people, all the cords. We don't want you to trip. Thank you so much.